Today is August 31st, 2025. Um, today, oh God, I went up to Summit Mall. First I went up to Bob Evans. There was a guy gonna be walking out and he was mumbling. While Carl, my husband, and I were talking about his daughter, Audrey, and her husband. Um, they watched a bunch of different stuff on TV. And um, they had mentioned different things before about people being drugged, that they had seen stuff about it, and drug cartels even going to Rays and injecting people. And so that, and they said it takes less than a minute for it to take effect, and that way people will leave with them willingly, okay? And that they're like sleepwalking. And last time when we went out, they said, well, we've seen another thing on those drugs where they control people. They had wanted to show these anesthesias that they use, and that you're not asleep, you're wide awake, but you have no memory. And you walk around, you'll respond. And how much they can control you with them. And she said, I forget the name of the one drug they used. And she said they gave this to a guy, and she said you could tell he was drugged a little bit because his responses were a little off, but he could still respond. And he just wasn't quite right when he talked to people. He would talk, he'd respond. Okay. But they, after the drug took effect, they told him, go in the bank, empty out your bank account, come out and give us some money. He did what he was told. Even responded to the banker and said, you almost would think that the banker would have caught it, because there was a couple of the responses that were just a teeny bit off, but he still talked and responded. When the drug wore off, he didn't remember anything. And they said they have those kind of drugs. A lot of them are like anesthetics or different types that cause amnesia and you're sleepwalking. And, and I told him, I said, well, that's the kind of stuff they're supposed to have used on me if they were bragging they used hypnotic drugs, and that induce sleepwalking with amnesia. And that way they can control you. And I told him, I said, if you actually research it, there's over 10 to 20 prescription drugs that will do it without the legal ones like LSD, ketamine, and stuff like that. Okay, but even the prescription drugs in high doses will cause it, certain ones. And you walk around and you have no memory. And this is 2025. I hate when people act ignorant. In the 1960s, they had LSD. Hippies would get stoned, hallucinate. People were taken. People would kill themselves, get high. In the 1970s, I lived in New York. My sister's 11 years older than me. And I remember my mom telling her if she wanted to go to a party, she had to pack her own food and drink. That they it was all over the news. They were releasing foods, drinks. People were being taken, raped, killed. And if she actually wanted to go to a party in high school, she had to take her own food and drink. All right. And so, I mean, that was 1970. It's 2025. And since then, I mean, the drug business basically has come out, and then the drug dealers and cartels with all these date, rape, amnesia drugs, roofies, uh, that they slip into somebody, they take less than a minute to work, and you'll respond and you'll have no memory. And that way they can rape you and have you leave with them, and you won't know what has happened to you and who did it. And people have known about these for years. And when people act ignorant, there is no damn excuse. And then with technology, it's not 1985, where, or even 1982, where home computers come out. Everybody's got a computer. If not, their cell phone is like a little mini laptop. You get online, you do everything. When I was a teenager, we didn't have that. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't even have cordless phones. You had a phone attached to the wall and a very long cord. And see, that's how much technology has changed in the last 35, 40 years. Now, for decades, we've all had cell phones. Then we've had smartphones. And we've all, people have home computers, laptops, technology. You can Photoshop your head on somebody else's body, hair color, eye color, clothing, sceneries. And if you have the right technology and even a little computer training, you can even do videos, everything. Everything's Photoshopable. And everybody knows that if you know what you're doing and have enough training, you can do it. See, that's where when people act ignorant, like they don't live in 2025. There's no damn excuse. My grandson is 17. He was showing this picture, his friend. Now, this is just computer training, basically high school. He took my grandson's face and put it on a guy sitting behind a desk in a big office. His head and face. It looked real. He was laughing. And a guy in a suit. You couldn't tell it wasn't him. See, that's where a teenager can do it. A teenager. All right. And so acting ignorant around me is unexcusable. Today, like I said, is August 31st, 2025. We went to go in Bob Evans. Some guy was walking out and he was talking. He said, "Oh, I found out they've been putting these amnesia drugs on TV and how they can control people." They've done that for a long time. Dear God, you just have to watch any kind of criminal thing and they'll have people being roofied and taken and willingly leaving with them. And no memory for years. So don't act stupid around me. They have this on cop shows. Any kind of like law, you know what I mean? Whatever. How many times? How many times? All the time. Mysteries. People being roofied and not know what happened to them. Well, we ate and we went to Summit Mall. I don't mind walking around Summit Mall. People don't make fun of me for being a rape victim. They don't make fun of me for being a rape victim. Well, let's see. April 24th, 25, the Texas cartel was up there and they were telling people, some guy from the case, I remember hearing his voice before. You tell that guy Will up there, that was to pull off a scam here to join us. that it's all ruined because Michelle told on him that that doctor from before was never one of hers. He works for them, and they had lied he was one of her doctors. And that the whole thing's ruined because she told on him, and you tell him we said to take care of her. Then they left all kinds of threats on that little girl. Okay. Uh, then May 25th, 25, Hollister's, and Summit Mall, teenagers laughing over in the corner. Boy, did Bill from the Freemasons run the biggest scam here. And had some guy go in and drug her up and tell her to say that. Can you imagine drugging somebody up and telling them to say something like that? And then had some guy take a video of her washing herself in the shower and then giggling about taping somebody washing themselves in the shower and then photoshopping that in another room. Then ran a contest off of it who could steal her money and scammed everybody into helping out. Okay? So I go up there. Everybody knows it's a scam. They leave me alone. Okay? And then everybody was horrified because they were threatening Michelle. Okay? Different times when I went up there. All right. So going forward. We're walking around today. People said nobody say a word to her. We all heard them admit they used hypnotic drugs on her. When they drugged her and told her to say it before, she'll never remember. Some lady off in the distance, do you realize what we look like to her with no memory of what happened? Horrifying bastards? Retards? You know, I went to my neighbor, Jim, and I said, people are saying this stuff around me. He said, Karen, are they playing you? I said, Jim, I really had bruises all over me. I really was throwing up. I was severely infected and almost passing out. And it kept happening. And they're laughing in my face. They drugged me and told me to say weird or monster stuff. It's sick. And they're laughing at me in front of people in stores. He said, Karen, that'd be horrible if they actually did that. Now, are you sure they're not playing you? I said, I never seen anyone. I never talked to anyone. I never had anybody in my home. I said I only had family repair guys, installation guys, and 2 silly officers on August 8 of 18 at midnight lighting the outside security system. They said when they came out, it looked like an alien orb, angry spirit, and told me to buy a dog and let a dog handle it next time. They didn't want bothered. I never even had my neighbors in my home. I thought the dirty well water I was showering in was giving me cancer. I thought it was killing me. Because the only thing new to me is that house. See, that's where some investigators were talking the other day, and Bob Evans. They said, could you imagine taking a shower before you go to bed, waking up with giant bruises all over you, throwing up, dizzy, almost passing out in a severe personal infection, no memory of what happened to you, or taking a drink out of a drink and the room go dizzy and black, and the same thing, and no memory of what happened to you. I went to the doctor. He said, well, water killed me because it was orange. And I said, I got all these bruises. I thought it was giving me cancer. And they said, did you fall? I said, no, maybe you're coming in anemic. Gave me iron pills, muscle relaxers for the pain, stuff for headaches, nauseousness, and a severe swollen personal infection. And I thought the well water was infecting my personal area. Here I'm being drugged, being raped. My own home. Predators getting in and harming me. See, that's where those investigators said, why didn't some idiot doctor figure out she was being raped? And see, I talked to a nurse about it. I said, I thought it was a well water. And these people are bragging this is what they did to me. And she said, you know, we all know rapists do this. We try not to leap that it's a rapist. We want to think it was a dirty well water. We want to think it's a virus or autoimmune or something. But we know rapists do this. See, today is not 1985. The world's changed. We have cartels everywhere, human traffickers. They need a leap. You can always dial it back. Predators selling human beings as sex slaves and to be murdered. Our world has changed. Our world has changed big time. Where predators sell and kill other human beings for profit. Okay? Well, other people were saying, no one had said a word to her. They all admitted to using hypnotic drugs on her. She'll never remember what happened to her. Why would anybody say anything to her? I thought the well water was giving me cancer. If these people would not have told me it was them violating me, I thought it was the orange well water I was showering in. Because it took us 2 months to get a water treatment system brought in bottled water to cook and drink. But you have to wash your hands and you have to take a fast shower. And I thought it was killing me. I talked to a doctor about it. She said, it actually makes sense that you blame the well water. Okay? She said, if it would have had a severe toxin in it, if it would have had E. coli in it, you would have actually got that sick. I said, well, we had it tested, it had high levels of iron. And she's like, iron don't do anything. No. Now, I want you to think how not funny that is. And these people finding it funny that drug dealers are doing this to somebody in their home. It's not funny. My ex told my son Danny, April 16th, 23, where I'd been going over and asked him if he knew any of this, about button camera shower scene in the other room, where I had bruises throwing up and almost passing out in front of people. They did know that, and they knew I had giant ones, orange, lemon, and grapefruit size. And if they knew people were drugging me up and telling me to say this horrible stuff and beating me under drugs, and they're laughing at me in stores, they did it, and I never seen or talked to anybody. They knew nothing. April 16th, 23, after Jen's mom's memorial service, I see Danny and Jen walk up to Gabe and Shay, my grown grandson and his girlfriend at the time. Said, I finally went to Dad, asked him what on earth is going on. He said he had hired some guy named Pete on his own. It was Pete and his men in her home before. Pete has her framed. Pete has her taped. The filthy, dirty statement. He had hired some guy to do it on his own. Just some guy. Not a dirty doctor, not da-da-da-da. Just some guy he hired on his own. It was him and his men. Okay? I've never met him. See, that's where people said, do you realize with her never meeting him how not funny this is? See, that's where I was up working on Forest Grove Drive in June of 23, and I'm sitting outside with a client at the time. And I can see an investigator's going around with their clipboards, knocking on the door. Now they all know they sold a login. Said, have you ever listened to Karen before? Said, yes. Did she ever mention Agent Johnny? He said his last name. He said, yes, several times during the first of the case. We thought it was him, and we called the FBI, and they refused to answer our questions. Okay? Said, we don't want anybody to say anything to her. She's never met the man that actually did this. How did he do it? We don't know. But it's already been verified. Everything was photoshopped on her before. Okay? That was 23. That's over 2 years later. We're 2 years later. Why don't you think about this? All right. So we're gonna go forward. There was men walking around the mall talking, and they found the tape of August 5th, 25. Investigators. We found the tape of them calling Agent John a coward, and they were pissed. Okay? And them admitting they used hypnotic drugs on her, and she'll never remember when they drugged her and told her to say it before. And they were pissed. Other people made a comment that something about she doesn't know, and they mentioned some guy named Keith. And she doesn't know what's going on, and they said something about a Keith. In 18 and 19, they talked about Keith and his men, and they mentioned him again today. And there's something I don't know. Now, with them selling the login in 18, 19, 20, 21, not only did I have the bad people that were hurting me, but I got, how can I put it nicely, admirers, men having crushes on me, men coming up and saying stuff, and then investigators taking care of them. And it was a lot. I had some guy in 19, they had said that he had found out I almost died to save everyone, and he wanted to meet me, and it made me physically sick. Literally doubled up. They would not let him meet me. It was too horrifying. I really had almost died to save everyone. No, no. Especially at that time. No. In 2020 or 21, some idiot showed up, and he was talking to some guys around me. He said, I'd like to meet her. I found out they sold her for money. I'd like to know what it was like. Well, one of those guys took care of him. You're never to meet her in her life. Do you understand me? You are never to meet her, or I'll take care of you. I was so upset. I started shaking. Back then I used to smoke. I went out and lit up a cigarette and just sat there in shock. I was so upset. What do you think it was like being sold for money? It was devastating. It don't take a brain cell to figure that one out. I'm a human being. Now, but they mentioned up in Summit Mall something about that Keith, and that I don't know what's going on, something about a Keith again. They also mentioned in a different part of the mall that some guy is telling people he's in love with me, and they told him it's weird that I've never met him. See, they said stuff like that in 18, and that's unsettling. Very unsettling. See, that's where I told you with them selling the login, I got several uninvited admirers that they took care of. I had a couple people complaining that I was out with my husband and insulting him. She wants to be out with that old man today. Fine. I don't know you. And mind your own business. And he's a very sweet man. Okay. See, this is not the week or the time for anybody to ever insult my husband. We knew each other for years. He was a neighbor. I knew when his last wife was alive. And when she was dying, he would come outside when I pull in and ask me just to hold him. He needed someone to hold him. He have to go back in and take care of her. Okay. And we became really good friends. And when I leave in the morning, he'd come out and ask me for the same thing. He needed a friend. And we became very good friends. His last wife verbally and emotionally abused him. He owned his dad's farm. He was a truck driver. He had money. She had 3 kids, so she latched on to him. Okay? And as soon as she got her hooks into him, within a couple years in the marriage, she told him she was not in love with him and she didn't love him. Well, she found out she had COPD. She was dying. And he was a good enough man that he didn't let her die alone. Did her children take care of her? No. He did. He wiped her butt, turned her, fed her until she died. And she made sure that he knew she didn't love him. And he still didn't just hand her back to her kids. He still took care of her. He still took care of her. He's a good man. And she would scream at him. Now, this is how sick her mentality is. It has went into her children of dehumanizing him. Okay? And the abuse and how it can be put into your children, even when they get into adults, of control and abuse. Last year, my ex had fled the country. I hadn't got my alimony restarted. My hours at work, I got cut. And he offered me a place to live after I went to stay somewhere else and it didn't work. And he said, I got this apartment and I got 2 extra bedrooms, da 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 da. You're welcome to stay here. He said, I'm not even telling my kids and my stepkids. It's not like nobody comes sees me. Nobody even bothers come see me unless they want money. And it's nobody's business. I'm a grown man. Okay? And I started working a lot of hours more, and it helped me get back on my feet. Well, we were already friends. Well, he had already told people that he was in love with me. It was a little weird at first. And he did. He told everybody. He had the biggest crush in the world on me. Well, one day I came home from work, and me and him and another neighbor the night before had went out to eat. Well, he's a severe diabetic, and he ate ice cream, and he was not feeling good when I got home from work. Well, I thought, you're paying for that ice cream. He's like, I want to go back to sleep for an hour. I said, okay, well, I'll come back in an hour. I'll find something to do. Well, I came back, found him on the floor. Had 102 fever. Here at his farm, he had got a cut on his arm, and it had got infected, and he didn't tell anybody, and he got sepsis. And we got him to the hospital. They had to drain it. I held his hand while they drained it. And his fever spiked to 104 before they got it back down. They had to pack him in ice. And he had to be on antibiotics and everything for days. He, right after that, he had asked me to start going out with him. And I told him, I said, well, we're only friends. He's like, would you give me a chance? Just give me a chance. He said, I would never hurt you. And he said, I will be good to you. Well, our friendship grew and we started dating, and we dated, 8, 9 months, we got married. We had known each other for years. Okay? Sweetest man in the world. Kindest. But when I was in that hospital emergency room when he had sepsis, his second wife's children were laughing how cruel their mother was. Oh, she would demean him, yell at him in front of us, and they'd laugh like it was funny. He's a severe diabetic. I said, I know that. He has to have dairy, he has to have milk, he has to have certain kinds of food. Well, I know that too. And she said that she would let him do out without and let him scavenge. She'd have cigarettes before they had money and all this other stuff, and that she only cared about smoking. She didn't care a thing about him, and she made sure he knew it, and they would laugh. And you wouldn't believe how cruel, and they'd chuckle like it was funny. It was sick the way they were laughing. Well, this is how much your children learn even when they're adults. They either makes them repulsed or they become that evil person. By September of last year, we were already dating. His one stepdaughter called up and started screaming about money. He said, I don't have it to give you. Now, these people had already bragged they got 50 grand each. They've been getting money out of him left and right. She even called and told me off for dating him. Okay? Said, you don't realize he's a millionaire. And da-da-da. I had bought him a pair of shoes. His shoes were ragged. He don't need you to buy shoes. He don't need you to buy him healthy food. He's got money. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I get off the phone and I'm like, Carl, what is this about you being a millionaire and I'm out working at night, you cat? He started laughing. He said, where'd she get that? He said, she make that up or what? I'm no millionaire. I don't got any of that money. When I did have money, they took it all. They come over and scream till they get it. That's illegal. Well, she kept harassing him. He got 4,000 together. He gave it to her. Is that all? And screamed at him till he cried. Screamed at him till he cried. That was all. And in October of last year, his one stepson, he's a severe alcoholic, stopped in and said something about not having the money to give him. Well, in November, Carl wants a payment. He took a bunch of money from Carl too, didn't pay him back. We go over and he calls him a fucking tight bastard. He said, did you get any more, that one, going to get mental rights off this one, da-da. He said, nothing like that's come in. They talk like it'll be over a year. You liar. And was calling him names and yelling at him. Okay? They haven't been over our apartment. Okay? We don't have anything to do with them. She had texted several times more. She wanted more money. He just didn't respond. We had told I went and I met with his attorney over a year ago. She's like, tell the police on him. He said, and that and his oldest son, Rick, I don't get where people think they're entitled. You are entitled to nothing in life. See, that's where the whole thing of it is. He told his dad, even when his last wife was dying, he was going to put him in the car, take him out to Youngstown, make him sign everything over to him. And he didn't act like he's going to come back. And he said, I'm not getting in no car with you, and I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not dead, and you don't get anything till I die. And he 4 or 5 times threatened to take him out there. Okay. And he told his attorney, he said, I'm actually afraid of him. She said, go tell the police and go tell the prosecutor's office. They'll put a restraining order on him. He can't threaten to take all your money and your land. He's not entitled to anything. And he's telling him, said, you can leave your land to the Humane Society. Your children are not entitled. He had told me, he said his late wife told him that he was to write up in his will and demanded, he did it before she died, that her son, the one that owes him money, calls him filthy names, to get half his farm, half of everything. His one son that is threatening to take him out to Youngstown, the other half. And then her favorite granddaughter to get some mineral rights. And his other children, nothing. Nothing. And because she bullied him and controlled him, he had wrote it up like that. Well, it was changed over 6 months ago. That idiot Bub that calls him filthy names, he's been wrote out. He don't know he's wrote out. Well, last September, he had found out that he was going to make changes to his will. He called up and he's like, I want a copy of the new will. Like he's entitled to it. He's not even entitled to a copy. He said, I haven't picked it up from the attorney. You liar, you will not lie to me. And they talk to him like he's a bought and sold slave. He said, I don't have it. And he's screaming at him till it's echoing through the apartment on his phone. And yeah. And his attorney several times told him, go to the cops and tell them they cannot do this to you. And we hadn't seen them since they called him a fucking tight bastard when we stopped over at his apartment in November of last year. They haven't been over our apartment since October. We moved to a new mobile home, and his son knew, his grandson knew, his daughter knew, these are biologicals, knew. His one daughter and her husband helped move some of our stuff. Okay. But the thieving stepchildren, that all they do is, as his attorney said, use him as an ATM that they're abusing. And that we didn't tell them. Well, in June, they had us meet up at Bob Evans. They still haven't been over our apartment. They came over. It was all in bins. We've been in the bins for over a month. Whereas packing everything. We go down to Bob Evans, and they said, Deb needs more money. He said, I don't have it to give her. They said, you liar, you'll give it to her. He said, I don't have it to give her. And then we tell him what she did last year. Too bad, you'll give it to her. Then they start laughing. We took enough money off of him, all of us, that we could have bought a house, and we blew it and chuckled in his face. We go to leave. He said, I don't want them to ever know where we live. I don't want them showing up and bullying money out of me. Well, we move, and within a few days of being in, he calls. I found out you moved. You didn't have my permission to move. Who the hell does he think he is? Calling up somebody and telling them they don't have his permission to move? He's not even his child. He's his second wife's child. And he's a free U.S. citizen. He can live anywhere he damn well please. He said, you didn't have my permission to move. And you can't move anywhere you want. You are to have permission to go anywhere or do anything. You hear me? And start yelling at him like a crazy person, like he's a bought and sold slave. And he said, we'll let you know. We're going to take Karen out of your life forever. He's like, that's my wife. He said, you only think you're married. He said, no, we're really married. Bill Stillman, the mayor of Carrollton, married us. And his attorney's office said, you only think you're married. He said, no, we're really married. He said, you only think you're married. He said, and we got ways of taking care of her. You'll never see her again. He's like, I never want to talk to you again, ever. And he just laid the phone down, and I hung it up. Okay. Then his girlfriend, is named Karen too, called back, and she was saying same crazy stuff that Karen may be good, but I'm better, and I got ways of taking her out of your life, and you'll never see her again. And he's like, that's my wife, and you won't talk that way. And he said, we're going to take her out of your life, and you'll never see her again. We'll find out where you live, and we're going to take care of this when we show up. Oh, no, they won't. And then the next day, they left a mean voicemail that, and they're weird. They say, my father. He's not their father. You won't keep him from me. When I show up, shit'll hit the fan. No, they won't. I told the cops. And then this last couple days, we go home, and then I go in, and I see there's a voicemail on my phone. It was her. I know where you live now. Why didn't you wave when I drove by? We're going to show up. Oh, no, they won't. We went straight to the sheriff's office. Took both voicemails. They gave us a case number and told us to go to the prosecutor's office and get a restraining order. And that they'll never be allowed around us ever again. See, that's where, when you're abusive and you treat somebody like they're not human, you teach your children to become as mean animals as you are. And yeah, they're not going to ever be allowed around me or him ever again. Only thing they want is his farm and his money. And that's one of the things they were yelling. I bet you signed that farm over to her and all your money. He's like, no, I didn't. He's, oh, yes, you did. Da, 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 da. We have ways of taking care of your life forever. I kept saying, that I was his wife. See, psychoness and this evil thing of killing and destroying people and thinking you can control them and that they're not human and you have rights over them. You don't have any right over anybody. See, that's where this thing is pure evil, and those people are nothing but pure evil and a threat. His daughters were horrified. His actual children were horrified. Who do they think they are? They're only Brenda's kids. They're not even his children. And my dad can marry whoever he wants and live wherever he wants, and they won't say a word. I know he will, and nobody will. See, that's where the point of these people, they act like I said, I've never seen anybody act so evil except for the drug cartel my ex-husband hired to harm me. And these people act as bad as they are. I'm going to go ahead and upload this.